Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. We'll note that all council members except for Dan Duvall are present. And we are going to head right into it. Informational discussion on the following budget discussions. 3 different funds are going to be discussed. General fund, mitigation fund, water reclamation fund. And this is, I'm assuming, going to be the treasurer. So I guess you're going to sit there and do it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Take it away.
All right. Well, I don't know if we're going to have it on the screen or possibly. in a
I think
minute.
so.
Okay.
Okay. Well, we can wait a second.
Oh.
We get it. That's promising. That's promising.
Well, as we're getting there, I'll just give a brief preview. So tonight,
Is the mic on?
yeah.
Oh,
Look at that. All right.
you've got some power.
We'll see if I could manipulate it. So tonight we'll be going over the general fund, the mitigation fund, and the treatment fund budgets. You were provided copies of all these slides, as well as some additional information in your packets last week. I've gotten some questions from some council members and have responded to them with those individual questions. But any other questions we have as we go along tonight, it is a work session. So, please, just speak up on those. So the first part of the general fund, we'll go over the general fund budget first. I've made some notes that I'm going to skip through right now. You've probably looked over those, and most of those will be referred to as we go through the budget itself. So as we look at the spreadsheets for the budget, what you have in the first 3 columns are the 3 actual revenues for fiscal year 23, 24, and 25. And then in the 4th and 5th columns, you have the current fiscal year 26 budget and the actual fiscal year 26 figures through February of this year. So 8 months of the current fiscal year. And then the final column is the fiscal year 27 proposed budget, which we will be referring to through most of the night. So as you start through the general fund, the first 2 pages are the revenues. The first item being the real property tax revenue. The rate is being proposed at 0.2977 cents, which is the current rate. This is actually slightly over the constant yield rate, but historically that is the rate that's been set. By setting it at 0.2977, it will generate an additional $82,000 in real property tax. That's because the assessed values of properties in Chesapeake Beach have increased about $27 million. So, because of the increase assessment, keeping the rate the same generates additional revenue. So you see the real property tax revenue estimated $3.2 million for fiscal year 27. Under the admission and amusement taxes, and I won't go through all the items, but I'll highlight some of the ones that have changed the most. That is being projected at $2,108,000 or $2.1 million in the budget. The admission and amusement taxes have increased about $400,000 from fiscal year estimated for fiscal year 26. So I've increased that budget line item by $400,000. Going down to the operating property, that is tax on Verizon and BG&E. You can see that is at $88,000. We set that rate, tax on those properties at $1.39 per $100 of assessed value. The property continues to go up each year, and this is property held by Verizon and BGE on the public right-of-way. Going down to permits, fees, and penalties, you see that at $20,000. We've actually broken that out from prior years. Included in there was the rental license fees. And if you look at the line item under that, we've taken $40,000, which is about what we've been collecting on the rental fees each year, and put that in a separate category. That was at the request of a council member to show that separately, and public has actually asked for that as well. Interest on savings, you see a decrease there. That is because we're using some of our surplus to fund the water park project. So the assumption there is that we are going to earn about 3.25% on the reserves we have of about $15 million. So that comes to $487,500. Cable TV, cable franchise fees, you see a slight decrease, which is, kind of been the trend that we see as people move from cable TV services into DirecTV and some of the other providers. The franchise fee that we get from that decreases. Speed camera revenue, projecting that to increase. We're in the process of negotiating a new contract with a camera company to do the administration of that, which would provide additional revenues to the town over what we are currently getting, which, as you can see, is about $20,000 anticipated for this year, and has been about in that range in the prior years. Jumping down to state income taxes, we're seeing about a 6% increase in state income taxes over a 3-year average. It's actually been higher than that this year, so I projected that at $1,987,000. Highway users revenue is at $579,000, which is current estimate from the state. They will be providing usually a updated one after the general session's complete, but it should be in that range. State aid for police protection at $50,360, which is where we are now. Again, that's another source that I'll get updated figures before the budget's adopted, but it won't vary significantly from that amount. The other revenue sources, you see transfers in from fund balance for the water park of $16.9 million. These are revenues that, were, surplus funds, as well as the sale of the bonds that we will not be using in fiscal year 26 that will roll over into 27, as well as the the state bond bills for the water park and $1.1 million. We won't recognize that until fiscal year 27 either. Total of those together is $18 million. And on the expenditure side of the general fund budget, you'll see that $18 million figure being used for the construction costs on the other side. The other transfer in the fund balance of $1,898,000 is the amount of surplus funds that are being put into the general fund to balance the budget. And, a large portion of that is, for capital projects that we're anticipating doing, which I'll go through the capital projects as we get into the expenditure side of the budget as well. So when you take all those revenues into consideration and the fund balance carryover, the total revenue or budget will be $29,026,000. So I'll stop there if you want and, answer any questions on the revenue side, if you have any.
Anybody have any questions on the revenue side?
I have a question.
Yep.
The tripling of the amount of revenue for speed cameras, are we changing anything? Is that the plan, or what brought that?
We're not changing anything as far as what we are charging per violation. Apparently, when the town entered into the agreement with the current vendor for those speed cameras, we basically rode on the Calvert County contract,
Mhm.
which under that contract, the town pays a certain amount per month to that vendor, which is for each camera that the town has. And there's 3 cameras and they charge us $3,900 per camera. So that's roughly $12,000 a month that we are charged for. The vendor charges us for running the cameras. We make about $10,000 a month in revenue from violations that we collect. So we don't make any money because we pay the vendor more than what we are collecting. That contract has expired, and there's other vendors out there that have different cost structures for how they charge for the operation of the cameras. So instead of paying a fixed amount for the camera, you could pay them to process the violations, and they will charge. So if the cameras, it's a $40 ticket. Is it 40? Yeah, $40 ticket. The fees for processing it in the contracts that I've seen, I have at other jurisdictions, charge like $15 for a violation. So the vendor gets 15, the town would get the difference, about $25. So it's not charging any of the violators anymore. It's just how we are sharing the monies that are collected with the vendor. So that's how we generate the additional amount of revenue.
Okay, so the speed is staying the same.
Yep.
And the price per violation is staying the same. And the only thing anticipated for change is
The
administrative
Howard-
costs.
Yep. And when we were, I believe, on a negotiation with, we're looking at other companies other towns that have actually bid out their speed camera services recently and are possibly going to ride on one of those contracts if it is comparable to our contracts,
Okay, and
which would generate the sharing as I just explained.
understood. Thank you.
Yep. Good question.
I have a couple questions.
Yep.
Line item for power site rental says in the notes, move to utility fund. Doesn't seem to be any revenue for 24, 25, 26. Was it moved prior, or do we not have any revenues coming into that?
Because it was moved into the utility fund at the end of fiscal year 23. So when we get to the utility fund budget at next month's meeting, you'll see tower site revenues in there for 24 going forward.
Okay.
So it's still showing here because, we're showing the actuals back to 23, and that's where it was in 23.
Gotcha. Okay. One other question. You mentioned $1 million something for balancing the budget and other revenue sources.
Yes.
What was that exact number, and what number is that lumped into?
It's actually by itself under other revenue sources. The second item down, account 430135, and it's
Okay.
$1,898,139.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Is that number coming out of the capital improvement budget that we did not expend, or?
It's just prior year surplus that, the town has. We have over $15 million in surplus, and that is being pulled from that in order to balance the budget. So it's being used to cover the expense side of the budget. And then the capital expenditures, I look at as capital expenditures, I think it's like $3.9 million. So 1.2 million of that is being covered with current year's revenue or fiscal year 27 revenues, and the other 1.8 is being covered from savings. It's a way to look at it.
So in this budget, did you assume a reconciliation of our capital improvement budget?
What do you mean by that?
Like this fiscal year 2026, there's lots of money that went unexpended on capital improvements.
That wasn't included in that estimated 15 million or so of reserves. That number will probably increase to 17 or 18 million, because I would anticipate there's probably $2 to $3 million of unspent capital items this year that will roll over. So that will increase our surplus.
Okay. So, but as of today and this budget, that revenue is still available and not accounted for here.
Correct. Yeah. So if you want to expend it by the end of 26, June of 30th, and it
Right.
won't roll over.
Unlikely we would have time, but yes.
Right.
Yes, that is why I'm asking.
Yes. All right, so as we go into the expenditure side, some of the, I've reformatted some of the expenses within departments. I've added in some new line items, which I thought, after looking over the budget over the last year would made more sense. So some of the account names might be a little different on a few of them. And then I've carved out a separate department for recreation, which some of their salaries and seasonal staff and costs are moved into there out of rec ops or whatever other line items they were in. I've also added a new section for committees so that, they would all be in one place instead of kind of spread out within the budget. So I'll point those out as we go through as well. So at the bottom of the first page, it starts out with the salary and benefits, and these are for the general government staff. There is a separate salary schedule, which I believe we do that in a closed session last year to show the breakdown, between each employee and what's included in there. But in general, throughout the departments, there's about a 5.7% increase, which the cost of living January over January of 25 to 26 is currently 2.7%. So about 2.7% of that is factored in as a cost of living. And then there's a average of about a 3% merit in there. So when you look at, the different salaries within department year to year, that's, going to be part of the differences in there for most departments. As we get into the treatment plant, that will be a little different, and we'll touch base on that and what's, going on in their salaries when we get to the treatment plant budget. So at the top of the next page, we start getting into operating costs. Again, I won't touch on all the items, just, some of the ones that have some changes. So the audit, was bid out 3 years ago. It does have an increase each year. So that's increased to 34,000, and the cost of that spread out amongst the different funds. So you see the increase here to 8,500 for the general fund. Legal counsel, which includes costs for the town attorney, the Board of Appeals, the lobbyist, It's estimated 120,000. Planning and zoning, increase in the hours for the planner. So you see an increase under the planning and zoning. Under engineering, that cost has actually decreased, and the reason for that is we're costing the cost of the engineer to the projects he's working on. So if he's working on the water park, it's gone to water park. If he's working on, other projects, it goes there. So in doing analysis, it looks like, the cost for general work's about 60,000 projects that aren't underway, other general follow-up work. So under printing and publications, had that as a $12,000 decrease, and it looks more in line with the prior years. And I was trying to figure out why we had $18,000 allocated this year, and it looks like we had put $8,000 in there for a newsletter, which I don't know if we're doing that or not. So I don't know whether to leave that in there or not. So currently it's not included. Under bank and credit card fees, that was previously called professional fees, which I don't really consider bank and credit card fees professional fees. So I changed the name there. And it was budgeted 67,000 this year, but we did have a public relations fee consultant included in there. Again, I don't know if that's something that's we didn't do this year, haven't done it yet, and I don't know if that's going to be included, so I did not put it in. The health department, we are paying rent there. It hasn't been budgeted in the past, but it has been incurred in the last 2 years. So, I figure that's something that we do need to budget for. Grants to local organizations. Currently, it's budgeted 76,000. Most of the items included in there, and let me see if we got it here. There's the 76,000 in the right column. So most of the organizations are the same and funded at the same levels as current year, with the exception of the Chesapeake Beach Railway Museum. We've increased that from 1,500 to 5,000. And then we've added SmartCon in there, which is an organization we provided some funding for this year. And then the Chesapeake Health for the birthing center at 50,000. The smaller amounts, with the exception of the railway, as it's highlighted there, I'm waiting on final allocation from the mayor. We are reaching out to some of those organizations to, see what their needs are, because we haven't gotten a lot of feedback from them or requests for this year. So they may change before, the next draft of the budget that you get. I guess we'd go back to special events. So special events budget, you see it's increased from 195,000 to 233. Some of the notes on the right here will tell you where some of those figures come from. I believe about 12,000 or so are events that we've done, but they've been costed to the recreation operation line item of the budget. And we're trying to, there's a lot of things lumped into that account. So we are trying to move them out into their own line items. So you can see the ones highlighted, say move from Rec Ops. And then there was some other events that have been added in there as well. So, it looks like a larger increase from 195 to 233, but some of those were allocated elsewhere. There are some newer ones and some additional funding for existing ones. We go back to the deputy. So at top of page 3, you see the police deputy and residence line item. The $1,454,000 is the estimate we've received from the sheriff's office. There is a detailed breakdown in your packet. And also up on the screen, but I won't refer back to that. They reconcile that at the end of each year and then either give us a credit back or, charge us additional for fiscal year 25. We did get a credit back that was about 100,000 less that got credited against our bills for the current year. We added a new line item in for satellite, for a satellite police office. Apparently they had a satellite office at Fishing Creek, which no longer exists. And so they are looking for a new location. So we've put money in there to possibly rent space for them, but there could be other options to do that as well. But that's a figure that was put in there based on renting a space at current rates for that. North Beach Volunteer Fire Department allocated 50,000 donations, same as it's been for at least the last 5 years. The salary and benefit line items, these are for public works, and we also had some items here that were for recreation. So you could see the payroll taxes, recreation, and recreation ops salary. I've noted that they've been moved to a separate budget item. So you can see I kept the prior years here so you could see where they were in prior years. And then when we get down to the rec department line items, you'll see that we moved it down there. Salary and wages for public works, 605,000. That one's a larger increase because there is a additional staff, full-time staff. I want to say a labor beginning, someone at the beginning of the scale going into that department, or it's being proposed. And then you can see the payroll related taxes and benefits for them. When you get under public works supplies, first item is the gasoline and tolls. That has gone up, currently because of different allocation. We're now allocating 80% of the gas charge. This is for the vehicles to public works and 20% to the utility fund. It was at 50-50. Jay has asked, looked at that and thinks that the breakdown should be 80-20 instead of 50-50. So that's where part of the increase is there. With the price of gas going up now, that may have to be increased, if it stays up high. So we may need to put additional money there. Under the public works contracted services and fees, the holiday lights is at 175,000. That includes the current contracts for the electrician and basically the installer for all of the lights, and company that does the maintenance, Windmill Farms, of 130,000. New displays for the coming year at 35,000, and additional 10 for miscellaneous costs. Trash removal service, possible 8% increase, which is built into their contract, brings it up to 681,000. Trash removal cans at Kellums Field is a new line item. And if you need to, Jay could elaborate a little further on this if you have questions, but it's new service to pick up, trash from the cans at Kellums and throughout the town. I can't remember how many cans there are, but there are quite a few of those. And, this seemed to be an efficiency request to do this. So most of the other items to get down to snow and ice removal, are pretty much in line with prior years. Under the snow and ice removal, obviously 26 was an unusual year. We're over budget there, currently at 110,000 versus 50,000 budget. Prior years were a lot less than that. So, kind of split the difference and put it in at 70. Hopefully we'll have, another easy year in fiscal year 27, but, we definitely have to allocate just in case. At the top of the next page, we get into the recreation line items. And here's where, we've generated, some accounts separately for the rec department. So the rec operations salary is the office staff that forms the recreational duties. The seasonal wages for Kellums are for the seasonal staff that works at the Kellums for the events that happen there. That was previously costed under rec ops. Which again, I felt that we should break out and show it so, it'd be easier to see what we're spending on those costs. And similar to the seasonal Bayfront Park staff, so that was under a different line item, but it had a different name to it, which I didn't really think told you what it was for. So we put that into a separate line item, and then the rec department has their own breakout for their taxes and benefits that you could see under there. It's blank for all the actuals in prior years because those were all shown under the Public Works figure and within the Public Works department. For the subcommittees, I mentioned before, these were spread out throughout the budget in various places. So I've went and combined them one place so that they're easy to see. There was a new one added for the Walkability Committee of $10,000. The other ones, the Opioid Awareness Committee, the Green Team, and CBOX were, already existing accounts. New line item under debt service, which is $500,000. By the middle of May, or we'll know what that actual figure will be. But I'm estimating it to be about $500,000. That's the annual debt service that will be on the water park. Debt service that will be going to market in May. And that's based on a 15-year payback starting fiscal year 27 through fiscal year 42. Under capital expenditures for the water park, that's where you see the 18 million, which is the actual construction cost. The operating budget will be presented at the May work session. We're working on that now. It'll be the first year it's operational again in, I guess, 3 years. So we're kind of starting from scratch again and, generating that budget. So it's taking a little longer. Saddle replacement is something that was requested by the Public Works Director. And, when I'm done, I think he could probably add more information regarding to what that request is for. And then last item is the capital expenditures, which is $3,867,000. So under the fiscal year 27 column, you can see what those projects are. And I'll go through them briefly. So, the asphalt overlay and road repairs, these are the HUR highway user funded projects. So it's the road work that we do within the town. We currently have about $1.4 million in reserve funds, that we've accumulated over the years that we haven't used yet. So what I did is I took that 1.4 million, allocated over the next 5 years, and then added in the projected annual HUR benefit that we'll get, which, I had touched on the revenue side. So for fiscal year 27, that was 579,000. So I just said, okay, for the next 5 years, we're going to get somewhere in that range. Plus we have the 1.4 million surplus of highway users revenue funds. I divide that equally, and that's how we get the 879,000 a year for 5 years. The 261 connectivity trail connection and design, that's the estimate that we have from Messick and Associates, to do the design work. You all know the conversations that have been had with that. It could be more, it could be less. We could be getting state highway users money to help fund that. We might not be getting highway users revenue. So I've just put it in to the budget for discussion purposes that that the design is there if we want to pay 100% of it. We could decide where we go from there. The railway trail extension, I had again gotten ballpark estimates from Messick and Associates of what it would cost to actually design the railway trail. He said 150,000, and then the estimated construction cost is $2 million. So I've broken out the assume that the design would take place in 27, probably take a while to do the design. We may be able to start construction during 27. So I put $500,000 in 27 to start construction. And then that would go over 2 years. As we get closer, maybe it would only be a year. So the $2 million construction cost is spread out over 3 years. The sign and wayfaring projects, I believe that's for the trails as well, kept at 25,000. The boardwalk, sidewalk, railway, trail maintenance, we budget that at 100,000 a year. So I just continued that for the 5 years. Coastal resiliency, if it happens, isn't projected until fiscal year 28. Storm drainage improvements, again, is an item that we budgeted 100,000 a year for. There are improvements to the town hall for the chamber, conference room, and lobby at 85,000. Town hall sidewalk, flooring, and carpet at 60. And property improvement behind the town hall, which is basically the house that we purchased, I don't know, it was a couple years ago. If we want to do some improvements there, that's at 50,000. The truck replacement and the toolcat are requests from the Public Works Director at 70 and 90,000. And the Veterans Park bricks, can you help me with that one, Jay? Is that replacing the existing bricks or?
It's including that and maybe some different technologies and also some benches and some general maintenance.
And then we get into the Kellums Park. Again, this is, we've got the concept plan for the park. We had about 10 or 12 line items in past budgets that we were like piecemealing together. So going forward, it looks like we're going to be dealing with the concept design, refining that, putting those, designing the full concept and putting the building plans together. So it's anticipated that would start in 27, and then the construction cost is estimated at $5 million. So again, allocating part of the construction, this happened in 27, and then proceed forward through 28 and 29. And maybe it'll be sooner, maybe it will need to be stretched out. The last two items are the Veterans Park upgrades of 50,000. That includes light, speakers, and concrete repairs. And then there's the kayak launch at 50,000, which previously was thought to be done with POS funding. But as we research POS funding, there really isn't any POS monies available to do any projects at the county. So if we're going to do that, it would need to be done ourselves, and therefore that's why it's being budgeted as the capital project. So I think that's the main capital projects, and I think that's the last item within the budget, right? Yep. So a lot, but if you have any questions, we'll
was gonna
try to
say,
answer those. I'm sure you got a lot of
Councilmember?
questions.
Yeah.
Any questions?
I have-
Go ahead,
I
Jamie.
have a few questions. I'm gonna go page by page if you don't mind.
Okay.
Tell us where we're starting.
Right, so starting on at the top where it says legal counsel, the last six is 620,600. It talks about Bank of America fees at 18,000 under legal fees. Is this just us?
Actually, Board of Appeals.
Board of Appeals, okay.
Bank of
Somebody told me it was Bank of America. That's what I was just saying.
That is the same.
Yeah. I was like, that's why, oh, why are we paying Bank of America there? Okay, perfect.
Question.
Thank you. Okay, and then I just had a comment. I do see throughout Comcast coming up quite a bit. Are we going to explore like Think Big as well as an opportunity to upgrade the town's infrastructure? I mean, we're going all over the community. There might be an opportunity to decrease our utility costs and go fiber at the same time as I was looking throughout a couple of these. I did have a question. If you go about halfway down the same page, 624,800, it says Health Department rent. What is that? I don't know where that's at.
Could you help me on that?
So we have an agreement with the health department to share space. So we cost share the space that they have over where the old library was. So they're in a smaller space. They're currently renovating to move into to take over the space where the library was. But there are a lot of town residents who seek medical services there.
Okay. I didn't know that. That's awesome. Okay. Thank you. Do we have any clarity on the trash services for Kellums in the town, Jay? Like what that frequency is going to look like?
I plugged in some money and I'm working on some prices, but basically we used to have a trash person and the biggest role was they were semi-retired. The town didn't pay them benefits. They were able to work weekends, which when the water park opens and everything, it's our biggest demand. So I want to look at somehow going back to there if we can find the right person, the right thing, because we have 40 trash cans now that we empty throughout town. We do 3 trash runs a week, which is great, and we have the staff, but I'm going to have to start bringing them in on weekends again to do up and down 260, do the rail trails, the parking lot. So I'm just exploring. I think it's more cost beneficial in the town to get a better product if we can find the right individual to do it. We used to have one, Alan Brown, and if he's listening, I thank you for doing what you did for many years, but he was a perfect fit for it. And so I want to explore that. I think it'll be more cost effective to have a lower level person designated to do that.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
And then I'll flip over to the capital budgets page. So I'll start from the bottom and work my way up, but the Veterans Park has two $50,000 pieces in here. So there was a meeting a few weeks ago related to the revitalization of or whatever acronym or verb we want to put in front of that of Veterans Park. Because if you go over there, I mean, it's a beautiful park. It's stunning when you come down and see the bay. But if you actually get up close, there's a lot of wear and tear because it's, you know, next to the water and it's showing its age. And there was some conversations about how to honor veterans more appropriately. So there was like a little group that met and there's some conversations that are ongoing. However, because of that, I think we wanted to pause. There's actually a question around restoring bricks and even finding out who's on the current bricks. So I don't think we want to have any funding in there right now for specifically for bricks, but I would ask Jay, like, what would you need? I know as we have to have that conversation, maybe repurposing this for the design that we would like to do versus putting it in here for bricks.
Sure. So I think the original 50,000 where it says lights and when the mayor first became mayor, we went back over there. It used to have lights in the fountain. It used to have a few things that we were going to try to restore. The second 50,000, I'm not 100% sure if that was allocated just to the bricks or something else.
Just to the bricks.
Just to the bricks. So that may have been from the original plan to replace the bricks. And now we may be moving to something different.
Okay. So I'm wondering then if that's where we would maybe look to,
Do you want to remove it or just have it say veteran park revitalization
Yeah.
instead of specifying bricks?
I would probably swap it to that so we can use it for the design discussions. And it's not to, I don't mean to catch the council or anybody off guard. It literally was a conversation we just had, and there's a lot of things it wasn't ready to be presented. So, but obviously we're at budget time. So, yeah, I think just swapping it to that, and we can partner, use it for.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
And then I'm so sorry.
Retitle it.
I went, I skipped one
I'm
piece
sorry.
on the.
Councilmember,
Yeah.
what is it we want to do? Change the name or just lump it together with the other 50,000?
You could just, I think you probably just remove the bricks and lump it in with the,
Oh, veteran park upgrades and make that
yeah,
100,000?
yeah, so you don't have two line items. I'm not an accountant, but that sounds simple. So, and I'm sorry, I did make a mistake on the grants piece in there, to local organizations. Mayor, if you remember, I'm going to advocate for the Bucks a little bit here. There was discussions about a one-time increase to 10,000 versus 5,000. And the purpose was they were going to purchase the concussion pads that go on all the helmets for all the teams moving forward. And I think they were going to cost share a piece of that, but I would encourage us just for a one-time. I know it's pretty steady across the board. Everybody's around the 5,000 mark, but for a one-time to support youth safety, increasing that from 5,000 to 10,000.
I think that's fine. Get that down.
I think they missed their 5,000 payment like 2 years ago anyway.
Yeah, and there's some nuances to it where it was only allowed for like scholarships. And I think collectively as a town, like safety equipment is a very important thing in a contact sport. So allowing them to do that would be really nice. But okay, thank you. That's all I have. Thanks.
Anybody else? Eric, you got anything?
We probably should have something in here for goals over at Kellum's, soccer goals.
We're gonna hold you hostage.
Maybe we can put a singular line item,
And
you
they're
know, for like
25
$5,000 for soccer goals at Kellum's Park. Where'd that go?
It
in the
depends.
co-
It
Under
goes
that
where when the
capital
vote.
improvements for 5 million?
Yeah.
Yeah, when you vote for the capital budget, it's already in there. I got it included
I
with
think
Dan.
that I propose that we add a line item under the already two existing Kellum's Park items that says soccer goals, $5,000.
bullet point.
Or that line item?
I don't think it needs its own line item.
Yeah, it should have its own line item so it gets done.
It's like
Well, it was already captured in the revitalization plan.
there you go.
I
Like when
think
you-
it should
when you
have
gave
its
that feedback.
own line item.
Oh,
He wants to see it.
No,
He
he
wants to see it
to not vote for the other one.
it.
We might actually also have funds this year to where we could explore that, but
I would appreciate it if it had its own line item.
Oh, really?
I'll add a separate line item.
Thank you, Mr. Treasurer.
Are you done, Eric? All right.
John,
I'm just thinking
thank you for
about
that.
yeah. I'm just thinking about the satellites. So they lost their satellite office over here, the sheriff's department.
Right.
And I was wondering what the purpose of that property is that we purchased over here. Like, what could that be, a satellite office possibility once we refurbish that? Or
I think there's a lot of things that are possible, but their need is more immediate than what we would be able to produce if we refurbished the place that we have behind it. And the idea is to bring a satellite office that's more front facing, because when they were back in Fishing Creek, a lot of people didn't know that they were there.
I didn't either.
So the idea is to have space potentially where the health department is in that same complex. That would have signage, and then it would be a place where Chesapeake Beach residents would be able to go and interface with the police department instead of having to drive all the way down to Prince Frederick.
Gotcha. Okay. So maybe more of a longer term idea could be to restore that building.
Well,
Or do we have another purpose for that?
I think at this point, there has not been anything determined for the use of that building. The only thing I've heard is reports from staff that have actually been in it, which I have not, is that it's in very rough shape. And it probably needs to be, okay, Wendy just gave me the high sign back here. She went like this.
Well, we have 50,000 in there for that this year, right?
Well-
Did we do anything?
And that-
We talked about engaging like an architect to figure out like what our options are. And I'll defer to Jay about some of the conversations that happened in the past when they actually acquired the property.
So just to inform the council, it's an older house, has lead paint and asbestos, and it may not be cost effective to rebuild. So I think the 50,000 has been rolled over year after year to actually demo it and just have open green space until we have a plan.
Dog park?
Just want to throw that out there.
Get a dog park. All right. Yeah, I think that's it for now. Thanks.
Great. Councilman Laura.
Dan, you did a very good job answering most of my questions. I just said,
Good.
oh, yeah. I have all these notes and none of them are needed for the most part. I'm gonna do like Jamie and start, just go page by page.
She's just not close to it. Take your time.
I would like to see the newsletter come back if that's something possible, so I'll just make that comment.
Printed newsletter? You mean the printed newsletter?
Yeah.
I like that idea.
Yeah, I think that would be great, especially we've been going through this history stuff
Yeah.
for our project, and
Yeah.
it's very difficult to locate recent history
Agreed.
because the newspaper went away.
I like that idea.
Unspent ARPA funds, where's that going from fiscal year 2026?
So technically, there are no unspent ARPA funds.
Right,
They've all been spent. So I'm looking at that as surplus funds. It's
Okay, just general.
unreserved surplus funds that can be used for whatever purpose you want. So you should probably stop talking about ARPA funds
Right,
because
there.
we don't want anyone to think that we have ARPA funds.
Right. I know the story behind that. They were spent on something else but tracked as ARPA. So, okay, so now we're just going to go back to tracking them as surplus.
Yep.
Why is the trash increasing by 8%?
It's built into their contract.
An 8% increase each year?
I'm not exactly sure what that amount is, but there is an increase built in there. I have to look at it again. to
Okay.
See exactly what, if it's spelled out, but that was what the increase was the prior year.
I would guess based on the increase in cost of fuel, that they're going to be losing money on that.
Yeah.
They might have a
50%.
fuel adjustment in there too, because I've seen
Is
contracts.
there a fuel adjustment as
There
well?
might be. I don't know, but I do.
Can you
know
take a
about
look
their
at that?
contracts.
Take a
They
look
have
at those
that.
contracts.
Yep.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, that would make it more reasonable, but an 8% increase is a pretty huge increase, generally speaking. And then the $35,000 trash pickup, can we get a picture whenever we do make that contract, which I agree with that contract, just to make sure that all areas are covered? That would be great. And really, getting some community input on that would also be good, because myself, I'm not home anymore during the summer, during the day, but my neighbors are. Just an idea there. We have the street sweeping landscaping contract that we're reducing. And I guess I'm just wondering why.
I don't think it's reducing it. I think that note that it is quarterly was from when we did go to quarterly. Apparently, we're only doing it quarterly. Because I think the 8,100 on that goes back a ways. Yeah, so apparently we added it on in fiscal year 24, and it's been 8,100 since then. So that note reduced to quarterly, I think goes back to the fiscal year 24 when it went to 8,100.
Gotcha. So it's no change in the street sweeping right
Currently,
now.
Yeah, yeah.
And I know, when the summer's really getting rolling, there were comments about a need for street sweeping. I guess mostly when it was windy, a lot of times. So I don't know if we can find a way to accommodate some kind of clause or some kind of way to make sure that we keep up with our street. Maybe allocate for a change order if that's feasible. And then the green team has been asking me if we could look at the landscaping contract so that they understand what is covered and not covered with watering and invasive removal. And an area was called up out at Brownies Beach that seems to be getting bad, and it really would be good to be proactive there because it'll take over quick. And their reports are that it was successfully treated previously. We want to treat the other areas. So if it's in that contract.
There was actually items added into the landscaping numbers that includes a request from the green team to do native garden at Town Hall, areas on 17th Street at Boardwalk, including trees at Chesapeake Village Water Tower, and buffer garden at Kellums Field parking area.
Invasives can be a little bit pricey, so if they're in the contract, we would want to know that.
Probably not. No,
Yeah.
it's to provide all labor, equipment, materials, and supervision necessary to maintain those areas planted by the green team, which includes fertilizing once a year, removal of excess mulch, edging and mulching of all beds and trees, and any necessary pruning to native plants and trees. To those 4 areas that I touched base on.
I think the general request is just to sit down with Melanie, who's a master gardener, and so that, I see your note that it's coming back up too.
Yes.
So
So
capturing all that would
I'll
be,
chime in here just because it's not a Dan question. That's
yeah.
It's a more administrative question. So we've sat down with the green team as staff, and we've sat down with Les as the
Mhm.
contractor. And so the next step is to bring us all together to make sure we're all on the same page.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that's already happening.
Yes.
Okay, so pointless conversation, but
Pointless,
thank you for the
but-
update.
But just letting you know that it's on our radar.
Good to know. It's good to know. So thanks for asking the question.
And then my last question is, I see saddle replacements in the general fund budget, and I'm just wondering why it was placed in the general fund budget. But there's a reason.
Instead of the total utility.
Yes.
You could go ahead and start if I. Have a little more history on it.
Yeah, I told Dan, I just need $500,000, put it in there. No,
And he did it.
that's what I told him. But when we talk about, I know it's not ARPA funding anymore, and I wanted to bring back the last administration. And what I will do is share with the council the meeting that was recorded is the best way to look at the project when it was started. I don't know if you probably have seen it. So it's a PowerPoint that shows the problem in Richfield. I had saddles in here and different things, and I will have forwarded to the council members the minute and the meeting date to watch. But at that time, it was like we had 5.8 million ARPA funds, and I had asked for about 2 million, and we only spent 1.1. And we've done some research and some spot saddle checking in-house, Public Works, and kind of came up with what we need to replace as part of that first phase of that project. So there's some areas left that I have here, and they're basically finishing up the areas in Richfield Station and the rest of Bayview Hills to proactively replace the saddles. And the reason I said do it out of the general fund, because thinking of the ARPA funds and the original scope of work that I thought I had from the get-go, but I understand now that the ARPA funds were spent, and I understand. So I'm not going to call it ARPA funds, but that was the intent from the get-go. It's the council's pleasure where it's funded from, but I do think if you watch it, you'll see the need, and it does save. If we do it proactive, it's going to cost us about $376,000. I budgeted $500. If we do it reactive, it's going to be $750,000 and spread out over time. So,
And these are, explain briefly what happens when the saddles fail.
the PowerPoint shows it in way more detail, but basically if we go in proactive and these saddles are failing, I brought some in, I called it Show and Tell. It's electrolysis in the ground. There's a lot of different things that lead to it, but it's a cast iron saddle. It's a copper lateral, creates a battery, if you will, and it cannot follow a ductile iron pipe because it's plastic. So the charge goes end to end. It ends up eating the saddle underground till they blow. Anyone that lives in Richfield Station has seen the.
Yeah.
So when they blow, first of all, it's in the middle of the night. It's not exactly safe, and the ground is compromised. It costs twice as much because you got a bigger hole in the road. You have to haul off the material. It's saturated, and then you have to put it back in the middle of the night. And it also gets people unscheduled out of service. The proactive approach is you pick the street, which we've test pitted and replaced one saddle on each one of these streets, so we know the condition and we know what's coming. And then you hire a contractor that proactively goes in and does one street. They do about 2 to 3 saddles a day. You know, it's a shut off at 9 a.m. and we're back on by 2 p.m. The PowerPoint shows the process, but that's it. So basically in Richfield Station and Bayview Hills, these saddles are failing and they're going to fail. It's a proactive approach of replacing them.
That helps. Thank you. Any other questions?
Not about that. As you know, I believe it belongs in the utility fund.
I know. I know.
So going to the capital programs, we have the highway user funds across the board. And last year we had an asphalt overlay line and we were supposed to get a schedule of how that was spent. And I don't believe that we got that, but I think it was spent. But I do think that knowing where large expenditures such as the ones in the highway user funds are spent is something that we should be doing. So I'd be interested to know where they were spent last year and
And honestly, that's on me because we produce a scoring sheet and the road report, so I can follow up with a map and the footages for the public and the council of where we did spend that money and what we plan to spend this year coming up.
that would be good. Because there's a lot of need for those highway user funds. We all know that I have a project that I would like to see done.
Oh, really?
Really?
Couple.
A lot of people would like to see it done. But those are big expenditures, just not knowing where that money goes isn't really appropriate. So, look forward to seeing that. I'm happy to see the $608,000 in the connectivity trail design. If it's my choice, which clearly it isn't, I would say get the state grant, pay it back if you have to, and move the project forward. I think people have been waiting long enough. But that's all I'll say. I hope we do move it forward. It's been a very long time with that project, and it's unsafe. So that's all I'll say there. Signs and wayfaring, I think we would like to use this year's, just a heads up, don't roll that back in because I've already have been working with the green team a little bit, and I think we're going to spend that money to refresh some of the signs that they already have information for. I think that's it. I mean, the Kellums project isn't really broken down. I like that project. You won't see me not voting for that project.
Kellum's just to help you out. So it's just with Wayne's team right now to give us the master plan back based off of the feedback from everybody. And then there was some additional, Samelia's already found like potential grant money that could supplement some of the activities we were trying to do. So what's in here is just the estimate if we were to pay 100% out of pocket with no support, but that's not realistic at all. We're going to go for open spaces money. We're going to go for some additional grant funding. And then the council will get a presentation soon of like, here's the iteration 2 of the master plan that they're working on. So Jenny's still working on it. So you'll see a breakout of what all that entails. But this is just Wayne giving a notional, knows that we're going in the budgeting cycle, putting something into the budget.
So I appreciate that. I would appreciate support for my neighborhood because currently nobody can get to Kellums Field. So I hope we can reopen those conversations. It looks like we have enough money for everything. And I'll leave that there. And then I'll just ask the question, does the plan include pilings?
Does it include, I mean, I think it would, if something required pilings, maybe, but I don't think there's anything, we'd have to ask Wayne that, or Jay, if you know.
So preliminarily, before that discussion, I did tell him any permanent structure would need piles over there, and he is understanding of that.
But
So if we're talking about pilings, now we're talking about a lot of wins and a lot of coordination, which goes back to my original thought that we should be master planning the entire area. But as I said, if we're going to get something done in Kellums Field to beautify the area, I am all for it. You won't see me voting against it, but I think there is a planning point in everything we're doing in the center of town that we need to be aware of.
Noted.
Agreed. Anthony?
Dan,
Sure.
I have no general fund budget questions for you. Thank you.
You're breaking the mold here. Okay.
Are you happy with the opioid awareness committee?
Actually, yes, because a lot of things will end up going into events anyway. So it pretty much evens out now that I thought about it, but thank you.
All right.
Wait.
Oh, your time.
Sorry, can I
your
have a
time is
follow-up?
up. Well, all
I'd like to
right.
have a follow-up.
Just this time.
All right,
Only one.
real quick. And just so I don't have to do and ask for a budget amendment. I think maybe if we could make that soccer goal line item 15,000 because is for permanent goals that are sturdy, that won't be ruined by kids hanging on them or anything like that. High quality goals. Talking about 2 large goals on the side and another 4 for a short field. That's 6 goals. So that's I think that's a more realistic budget line item. I'd like to see that if there's enough agreement. No,
Do they have something that light up at night?
I don't know.
You should look into that.
I mean, look, if it doesn't cost that much, we pay whatever the least amount is, but I think maybe 5,000 probably won't be enough to get it done. So I'll say that. And then I do want to comment on Lori's intent or desire to have the saddle replacements moved to utility fund. I concur with that. I think that's probably where it belongs. And in the same vein, I think that the capital expenditures for the water park and the debt service for the water park probably deserves to be in the water park fund, along that same line of reasoning. And I mean, those are my comments.
Thank you. All right. Anybody else have anything before we move on?
Can I just ask Jay one question on capital projects? I know you had mentioned a storage facility that you wanted for Public Works, which, as I look through the capital project and think about the budget and all the conversations I've had with various people, I noticed that is not there. Is that something you want to advocate for, or is that something that could be done in subsequent years?
And I'm glad you mentioned that. And I know we discussed it. So up at Chesapeake Village, which is the water tower property that the town acquired for free, thankfully, working with the developer. So we have the land, and we have built already a lean-to there where we currently store our vac trailer, the little town boat, the sea box oyster projects, and a few other things. It is basically 2/3 of it has been taken over by Christmas displays. And now moving forward with the new stuff we're getting, we have actually closed it in and created walls. So I lost my storage. And what I would like to do is build another public works building. It'll be a multi-purpose. It's not a building. It's not a heated or electrical structure. It's what exists there today, but now I want to build one on the side. The only addition will be, there will be one closed-in bay. One thing we suffered from this year with the snow events is we had 17 days in a row where it never got above freezing. And it's very hard to wash your truck outside literally without it freezing. So we made like a make-to shelter. We could at least get ice and salt off. When I build this new thing up there, it'll be one bay closed in that we could heat and have a place where we could, if we have a similar situation, we have a wash down that's heated. And it's $75,000.
So that's not in the budget at this time.
That's not in the budget at this
He had
time.
asked for it, and I.
Well, then with the soccer goals.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
I had not included in the budget something he had talked about a couple different times when I discussed his budgets with him. But reflecting on it, I noticed that it's not there, so I left it out. So
We could put soccer goals on each end.
Mhm. They can be heated.
We add it?
Add it. I think we should add it. Why wouldn't we add it?
Yes. So if you'd make a note to add that, please.
Thank you, Council and Mayor.
Yeah.
And Dan.
Anything else on the general fund before we move on? All right, time for the mitigation fund.
here's the mitigation fund. Again, doesn't have, a lot of activity. Apparently in the past, it was used for larger projects. So the only thing we have here on the revenue side is interest on some savings that we have included in that account of about $3,000, a critical area grant that we seem to get each year, and then some tree planting and maintenance expense associated with work done that's needed in order to get that $2,000 grant. I don't know anything more about it now.
I have one comment about that. The Green Team has just been awarded a Tree City, I guess for the second round in a row. And part of the requirements is to have a certain amount of money based on residential population designated for trees. And we found it in the mitigation fund last year. I just want to make sure that we have the right amount in there for them to maintain their effort.
What's the actual amount that they have to have?
I don't know because we need to base it on the number of residents we have.
Is it for new trees or is it, what's it need to be for?
It's just part of the Tree City program. You have to have a certain amount of money per resident dedicated for the maintenance of your tree, of your trees.
Right, so we have the, the landscaping budget and things like that. It's not a mitigation fund, but we spend, monies for maintenance of the trees and trimmings and things. So I guess we need to figure out what that dollar value is and see if what we're doing within the tree maintenance budget would be enough. And if not, then, we could allocate more to the tree maintenance budget versus the mitigation fund. Does that
Yeah, and
make
it could
sense?
even be its own line item set out in the general fund. It can be anywhere in the budget. I'm just asking staff to be aware of that program and make sure that the wording is accurate in the budget so that they can maintain their.
So are you familiar with that? I can work with you on that? Okay.
Thank you.
Dan, I have might be a silly question, but why are these like 5 line items not just rolled into the general fund? Like, why is it its own thing?
My knowledge of past is not great enough to answer that question.
It's just so
I
small.
like the idea.
It's such a small fund. Why don't we just
I mean,
add
I
5
can-
line items?
I
To the general
I could
fund.
try to research it a little better and see what the
Just-
history is of it and why it's there. I mean,
Sarah might have an answer.
Just one less fund we would have to deal with.
why is it a separate fund? Instead of putting those 5 line items into the general fund?
It just feels better after spending an hour on the last one.
Yeah.
I mean, let's just be, it just feels better like we got something else done. And then we can go on to the next one, right? It's a good reprieve.
For the beans.
Maybe we'll make up for it in the next fund. Let's move on to the wastewater treatment plant fund. Oh, I'm sorry. I got that name wrong again. I always will.
Right, so most of the information within the treatment plant fund I got from Josh. So I'm going to turn it over to Josh because he knows a whole lot more about what individual costs are in there. I did share with each of you the detailed spreadsheets that Josh used to come up with these numbers. They got sent over like late this afternoon. So you will have those as well, but I'll let Josh take over from here.
Good evening. So going down, I'll kind of go off of Dan's presentation he has here. Going into the engineering professional fees, that's basically includes known contract services. And then we have the average for project engineering fees. And what I did was I looked at what our expenditures were for the last 3 fiscal years, averaged that out and put that amount in there. That came out to about $45,000. All the rest of it, like I say, is for our SCADA systems, Pacina doing network backups for our computers, flow meter calibrations and scale calibrations, which we're required to do for MDE.
interjurisdictional agreements. Sure. So the other thing that you might not see now, but you will see potentially if our partners are aligned, is that the inclusion of the reworking the interjurisdictional agreements, which are currently probably over 40 years old and need to be revisited. But we need to get partner alignment on that first.
So anybody have any questions regarding the engineering professional fees line item? We'll just go by line item if we want to.
I had a question on what Sam just said. Is that something we need to add to this professional line item now or wait until we have
We have
conversations?
our partner meeting next week. And so I think it would be most prudent to wait till we hear back from them to make sure they're aligned and then add it.
Okay.
Budget at all right now?
I think there's value in going over it now.
Yeah, and this budget was actually, as shown here, was given to the partners a month ago, so they're going over it as well. And, you know, they may have some questions next week, so there could be changes from them as well. But this is the actual budget that they were looking at. So
next item would be our safety line item. We had no major changes on there. Generally, that's just going through our annual hearing testing, replacements for reagents for our portable eye wash stations. We have a number of those in the plant. Personal PPE, spill response materials, and then OSHA training during the year. And that line item hasn't changed since last year. For lab analysis and supplies, we did have a significant reduction as a result of the lab services RFP that we did recently. We've cut that by about $66,000 year over year. We did have an increase in cost for our lab equipment. Some of the materials that we need for our testing costs are going up on that. We're making a change to our daily testing for our nutrients. We had been using two different types of tests. One of the tests has been being very inconsistent over a period of time and didn't see any reason to continue with that. To do the other test more frequently had a little bit of cost increase, but it really didn't make a huge change on the budget year over year. And we had a lot of savings with the lab services. So equipment repairs and maintenance. As our equipment gets older, we're finding that we, of course, need to do more maintenance. We're having equipment that's needing to go out for rebuilds, stuff like that. We have our generator service contract for 2 annual checks on that, along with a load bank test annually. We have a project for replacement of a block heater on the generator. It's going to be about $5,600 to do that work. That's already been quoted from Kelly Generator, who handles our generator service. ChemScan service contract, that's our chemical analyzer for our denitrification filters that controls the chemical application. HVA service contract, annual RPZ inspections, which are required by plumbing code, and a service agreement with Xylem for our dry prime pump, and also annual service contract for our lab desktop equipment. And since the equipment's getting older, we did increase that line item to try and compensate for that. Right now, we have about $10,000 left in that budget for the fiscal year, started at $90,000. Any questions?
Anybody got any questions or comments?
You had a comment. The
Sir.
bid is looking good, man.
Say again?
The bid is looking
I appreciate
good,
it.
man.
Thank you.
I tend to agree.
I'm proud of him. I'm proud of him.
Jamie does too, and John, and Eric. It is the uniform. Jay, get with it. All right.
So for TP office expense, Doesn't look like Dan had it in the presentation. That's just generally our annual training, janitorial supplies, office supplies, break room supplies, uniforms. That line item hasn't had an increase year over year. We are trying to get our operators out as frequently as possible for their certification exams, to try and get that knocked out and see if we can get more licensed operators. And that makes me realize I did not go over to salaries, which was one of the top line items. I'll go ahead and backtrack onto that. For salaries, we did have an increase this year. That primarily is for the 3 trainees that we have in the apprenticeship program. As part of the Maryland Rural Water Apprenticeship Program, we're required to initially pay them at 65% of full operator pay. And then after the completion of their first year, which would be in FY27, they are to be paid at 85% of operator pay. So that's a significant pay increase over where they were as a trainee. And it's all dependent on them completing their required 2,000 hours of OJT. And I believe it was about 150, 200 hours of relevant training hours, classes. So more than likely they're going to meet that. They had quite a few hours for previous experience, previous classes they had taken that they got credit for. But that is something that's going to occur this fiscal year as required by the apprenticeship program. And ideally, once they complete this next year, they'll pass the test and we'll have 3 new operators. So that's one thing we're shooting for. I also figure into the budget for possible increases for one more trainee to become an operator. We have one trainee who's taken the exam the last 2 times. You need a 70 to pass, and he's gotten a 69 the last 2 times. So he's very frustrated. And as soon as he comes back and doesn't pass, he's filling out an application to retake that exam. And it takes about a month for MDE to process it, get him lined up, and then he goes back out and takes the exam again. So anybody have any questions regarding the salary, since that was...
Questions?
Yeah. So I don't know. So you got salaries here, and then under the notes, it's personnel schedule, and then notes continue on under that. Are those notes of 50% of salaries? The notes on Zach treasurer and town administrator percentages, are those associated with the salary line or the plant benefits and taxes line?
They're associated with the administration down at Chesapeake Beach line.
Okay.
The take that back. The 50% of salaries is 50% of the treatment plant line. The administration TCB is the Zach 28%, treasurer 20%.
Okay. Yeah, okay. And just for purposes of expressing an opinion, and it's been expressed before, I'm not for breaking these salaries out and adding expenses that way into the treatment plant and utility fund. But thanks for clearing that up.
Duly noted. Thank you. Anybody else got any questions or comments? Anything else, Josh?
We do have 2 other line items, the chemicals and then the landfill tipping fees, and then getting into the capital projects. For chemicals, I was able to reduce the budget by about $90,000 this year on that. We were just over the past couple of years looking at how many deliveries we needed of chemicals. I was able to reduce the estimated number of deliveries for each year. Our usage just has not been at that level. We've also had a change with one of our chemicals, which reduced the cost by close to 10 cents per pound, and each delivery would get 32,000 pounds. And that's when we get almost 10 deliveries a year. So that was a significant reduction in cost. That was basically the biggest part of the cost change was for our aluminum chloride in that process. For landfill tipping fees, that's going to increase by about 30,000, and that has to do with just the contract cost increases and predicted sludge production through the plant. As we get more flows, we're going to have more sludge production. Any questions regarding the last part of the operational budget? All right. Going into capital projects, didn't have as many projects this fiscal year. Just some of these other projects need a little bit more time to be able to get processed into. The Headworks project, we're still working on funding for that one, so that's been pushed out to FY28. For this year, we've got 80,000 for equipment purchases. That's just been a recurring line item over the past couple of years. That's for purchases of pumps, any other major equipment we need. Building our spare parts inventory. Every year we're having to buy spare parts replacements, restocking inventories. The majority of that we're finding is our UV components. Those are fairly expensive when we do have to get those, but we do need to retain stock on the shelf for those during the fiscal year. We have 2 projects for repairing our basin mixers and our SPT mixers, shellfish protection tank mixers. Those are the plan is to take them, get them pulled out, send them over to the motor shop and have them fully rebuilt. And that will get us extended life on those pieces of equipment. The plan for the basins is to pull 6 of them, have them rebuilt, put back in. That will redo half of the mixers we have. And then probably next fiscal year, we may try and do the same thing, depending on what the rest of them are looking like. The shellfish protection tank mixers is going to be a larger project due to the height of the tank. The tank is about 25 feet high. We're going to need to have a crane set up in Jay's lot back there to be able to get those out of that tank, have them hauled off to the motor shop, rebuilt, rewound, put back in there, and we should be able to get another number of years out of those. And then we have a $5,000 for clean out our aluminum chloride tank. We had a issue with the last chemical that was causing a lot of precipitation in the tanks. One of the reasons besides the cost of the chemical, that was one of the other reasons why we moved away from that chemical. That's going to be a one-time project to get that precipitate out of the bottom of the tank. We're going to use a known septic hauler and should be able to get that pumped out pretty easily. And then we'll just feed that back in through the plant. Questions, Brahms?
Any questions?
I just
Go
have a
ahead, Jamie.
comment. Can we just, where it says build inventory spare parts, can we just say spare parts inventory and remove, excuse me, remove the build because you've been building for a while. I think you're just replenishing now.
Yes.
So yeah, just for naming convention integrity.
I have a question that might be more for Dan. Like, I know we did the enhanced nutrient removal a while back, and I think we're about to stop paying the debt service on that in a year or two. I was wondering why that wasn't in this budget and why it was in I think it's in the utility fund budget and not in this budget. I don't know. Maybe you can get back to me on that one, but you don't have the answer.
That's where it's always been. It's all I know.
Yes, seems like it's a treatment plant expense, but it's in the utility fund and not the
Well,
treatment.
I think within the treatment plant, those are cost share with the partners, and I think everyone paid for their own share separately. So instead of showing it within the treatment plant and the cost not being shared, whereas everything within the treatment plant now is either a fixed or variable cost that's shared by the partners. And it looks, when I did look at it before, it looked like we paid for our share of those upgrades with the bonds. So therefore, I think that's why it's in the utility fund.
Yeah. I think there was another one that was dropping off in a year or two besides the nutrient removal. Can't remember what it was though.
Yep, there's 3 bonds and 2 of them come off the next 3 years, I believe.
So is that why we're targeting the Headworks for around that time? When those drop off, we're going to take on the Headworks probably.
I don't know if that
Debt
was,
service.
I don't know if that was considered. I think that's just when they need to be done. I think it's based on needs.
It's just good timing then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never quite understood that either. If there are improvements to the treatment plant, why aren't the costs shared with the partners?
I mean, we only have 1 or 2 more years to pay on those, but that's something that should have been a long time ago.
I'm sure it was agreed to 15 years ago,
Yeah.
whatever the breakdown was. And I think everyone was paying their own share directly.
That would be,
That would be yeah, that's a substantial amount.
All right. Any other questions? All right. I think we're done with the budget discussions, and I think this was very productive, and I thank all of you that prepared material, and I thank the council for their thoughtful and questions and comments. It is time to move on to item 2 on the informational discussion, and that is the election board briefing. And Randy Getman is here to bring us up to date on what's happening with the election board, which is actually quite a lot. Thank you, Randy.
Okay, so you got your read ahead, but I'm going to start out with introducing the election committee. So I have Acacia Flores, and I have Gordon Matheson. Okay, he did come. and Chris Martinez.
Thank you.
And these have worked very hard.
and Anthony.
Say the other two. I'm waiting for my table there. Yes. So also there are actually 3 more people to talk about. So, but Eric Reinhardt, Councilman Reinhardt, and Councilman Anthony Green. That was the committee. Addition to that, we now have a new member, Jennifer Bennett, which you back here, okay? So which you appointed as Board of Elections at your last meeting. Okay, so I needed a little bit of space here for all this paper. In case needed, if you guys want to move up a little closer in case you need to come to the microphone. So I tried to do this as a read ahead like you do a lot of your other things so that you could prepare. I'm not really planning on going through it as a brief. Let's see if I figure out how to use this thing. Do I point it in a particular direction? Okay. So wanted to, you've read it, you thought about it. I'd kind of like to hear your questions. If there's a particular slide or something you want me to go into more detail in, or answer more questions. This was my attempt to put a whole lot of information into your heads. And I probably rewrote this thing about 15 times, Chris, or something like that, and try to figure out the best way to present it or to give it to you.
I can start. First, Randy, thank you very much for putting this together. We talked earlier. This is absolutely fantastic. I will just say that I concur with the committee's recommendation. I appreciate the work tied to this, where we would have a town-run election with contractor support. I know that's what North Beach is doing as well. I concur with that. I appreciate that it's on election day, so it ties where most people are going to be voting anyways. I am sad. I told you, and I will say this is a precursor, so I'll say it in public, where it says Randy may step back is listed multiple times throughout this document. You did not sneak that one past me. But you did have an ask in here regarding multi-day elections, and one of the I went back and forth on this. I Googled a whole bunch, and I think there's easily an argument for both of them. However, this option targets National Election Day, and sticking with that. So I think that's what led me into thinking I would lean into a single election day because that ties to the actual plan that the committee put forward. And then I will just call out, I do appreciate you answering my question regarding paper ballots because North Beach is not going to do paper ballots.
Right, they're gonna-
However, we have a code requirement to do both. And Randy just kind of explained maybe some integrity type things, and it just makes logical sense in current state. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, Jamie. That was good.
Since I was on the committee, I'll pass and then loop back around at the end, if need be.
Yeah, I just want to echo Jamie and say that this is very well put together, and you'd already kind of answered my question about what happens if you step back, and maybe you can just brief everybody real quick on what does happen if we lose our certified.
So when we finish our little thing here, the second part of this
Okay.
is you're going to appoint Acacia as the other board member. So we'll have Jennifer and Acacia, who over the next 2 years, I will train to be able to run the 2028 election.
Okay. Hopefully the machines just work out this next time and we don't get the last minute hiccup.
Well, the whole thing about going over this and looking at whether we go on their ballot, on the county's ballot, or whether we do it ourselves. And one of the things that really went wrong the last time was poll book availability. Well, part of the thing the committee did, we looked for what contractors were out there that provided and what other municipalities were doing. And we found out that Electech was through the Maryland Municipal League. We got in contact and we found out that Electech has actually been supporting 28 different municipalities with election support. We had a Zoom meeting with them where they went over and talked about what they could provide in poll books and stuff. So there's actually 3 companies that I believe could support our 2028 election. The ES&S is who we've been using in the past to get ballots and stuff. I can't remember the other name, but I've got it somewhere in there. They won the poll book contract for the county, and then Electech is another one. And the key thing was getting poll books that could be networked, that could have the Maryland Municipal Registry. I'm sorry, the Maryland Registry, the statewide registry, which is what we're part of. So the Chesapeake version of that on the poll book, so that we can easily look them up, and that the poll books were all networked. So when you enter one name in here, it automatically goes, so nobody could vote twice. So you can track and count them. And also so you could print a voter authority card. The voter authority card is very important in that that's what we use to take to the scanner, so that only one ballot, one voter authority card. So we know, and those numbers have to match at the end of the night. So that's kind of keeping with the integrity and making sure we are voters only vote once and only registered voters vote.
Great goal. You guys, it's just amazing how many people actually were able to vote despite all the hiccups you guys had last time. It was a huge turnout, and hopefully we can get even more at the next election. So, thank you.
Great job. I like what you've done here. Your ask multiple days. I'm a no multiple day person. I like election day, and I also think it's a heavy lift for the town. So that's my comment.
And multiple election days, we were 50-50 split on that. We couldn't decide that one ourselves. And we were not looking to extend the November election date. We were looking at the potential of adding maybe a weeknight or a weekend, kind of like the county does 8 days of early voting, and and those are full 13-hour days. And I looked at or proposed as an option of doing a 6-hour weekday night and a 6-hour Saturday. But I also found that when I got a cost estimate from Electech, that it was another $4,200 for each day that you added. So I don't know that it's really important to do that. We did get 41% the last time. One of the reasons I added it was because if you looked at the our election, that multi-day one. So if you looked at the voters, our Chesapeake Beach voters, 70.1% of them actually voted in the 2024 election for the president for the general election. We had 41% of those same voters vote in our election. But if you look at the election day, absentee ballot, provisional, and early voting breakouts, the reason they had such a high percentage is not that they all showed up on election day. You can see we actually had more show up on election day to ours, but it's because they had an early voting opportunity and a mail-in ballot opportunity, and that's how they get up to 70%. Do we really need to do that? Like we split 50-50 as to whether we did or not, and I was one of the ones that voted for it, and I'm kind of leaning against it. So I don't, it's not something that we have to do. The real decision I need from you going forward is do we hold our own election and get contractor support, or do we go onto the county ballot? And one of the things I recently asked a question to through the county to the state as to which municipalities are going to go on the county ballot in their county for the November 2026 election. 0. No, nobody. The only municipality I know that I'm aware of that has gone on the ballot is Baltimore County, and I guess they've always done that. But no other municipality does that, to my knowledge. One of the things we were able to do is in 2023, the state put out passed legislation so that municipalities had to submit their election results to the state, and then the state puts them on a website. Well, all this information about the other places that voted, so I got your percentage of when elections were held. That came from that state site. I can actually go on. I can't look at 22 because the law wasn't in effect there, but you look at 23, 24, 25, and I gave you some examples of 2025 of when one of the other options we had looked at is we could have rented equipment from the state and done an MOU, but they would have made us change our election date. So I gave you information about why we shouldn't do that. Because the 5 that I looked at, the 5 different municipalities, they were under 12% voter turnout on a non-election, non-county election day.
And I recall you and I talked about this at some length, and I think that makes all the sense in the world to leave it on the same day as the general election, just to improve the turnout and the percentage of our voters that actually vote.
And I think 41% is really good. And
I agree.
We're basing that on active voters. The county, the state county, they clear up and they have different categories of active, inactive. If someone doesn't vote or they don't respond to them when they send correspondence, when the state sends them correspondence, they'll move them to the inactive list. And they'll stay there for a while. And if they don't answer anything for a period of time, they'll take them off the list. But updating that Maryland Universal Registration, that's the term I was looking for earlier, takes time. We can't do it. Only the state and county can change that.
Did your committee talk at all about putting the question to referendum about how we would vote? Like, obviously we can't do that right now, but like on the ballot, a question on the ballot for how we would do our elections. Did you all have a conversation about that at all? I know you said North Beach maybe did.
They voted to do that. The town
Yeah.
council voted to put that on their November 2026 ballot. We didn't really talk about that because our next ballot is in 2028. So you would be talking about a special election
Right.
or
do
just
it
a
the way that-
newsletter or something that goes out and asks for input, or
I would be interested because I am for, the one day of voting. Also from a campaign perspective, it's hard to campaign for multiple days when you drag out the election too far and things change.
So
But
I don't think that we should go to what the county does, which is prior to election day, they do 8 days of
that's a lot.
but nothing after the normal election day. So that ends it. That election day ends it. Okay, what takes place after that is just the counting of the absentee ballots, the canvassing of the provisional ballots, just stuff that takes place. That takes time to get that done. It takes the county a week for absentee, a week for provisional to get their actual numbers. I was only proposing prior to election day, like a Saturday before or a Wednesday or something before. That's what I was thinking about in multiple elections. And again, I don't think we have to have that. 41% is a pretty good turnout.
I would say if you wanted to accommodate more people and you got that feedback from people, if you kept it close together so that the people that voted on this day have the same information as the people that voted on the other day. I think that's the problem when they're spread out.
If you spread it out
Things-
too far. And
Yeah.
also the other thing you don't want to do is that you would not do is you wouldn't put out results until after election day. So you wouldn't be saying how many votes each candidate got. I probably wouldn't be able to do that with the machines anyways.
You have a tough job.
He's been doing it for a long time too, and we appreciate that.
I do have a couple things now.
I was going to call on you before you interrupted me.
Sorry. You get left out. Are you good, Anthony? You have
I'm good, go
anything? Okay. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Go ahead.
You have something?
Eric, go ahead.
Okay. I just wanted to highlight a couple of things that the committee looked at that I think are important and it really hadn't been said yet. And one that's super important, I think it was to our committee, was that if we went with a county or state ballot, that there's a law that says that it cannot be a nonpartisan election. So we would have had to had partisan elections or fill out a petition and get 200 signatures or whatever to get on a ballot as a nonpartisan candidate.
250.
Or 250. So that was kind of a really big deal to the committee. And one of the reasons that we made the decision to recommend that we go with the town run elections. And I just wanted to make sure everyone was aware of that point. The committee split 50-50. I am definitely for a single day election for multiple reasons that we've already gone over: manpower, cost, different information, all good points. I wanted to say that, regarding the Zoom call that we had with Electech, that was a great call. And they did demos of the equipment and the process and the poll books and the machines and everything. And I believe that call was recorded.
To what?
So if anyone is interested in that information, that type of, richer information on machines and programs and process and stuff, it's there and available.
Yeah, do you have an estimate on how much that might speed up the process from last time, having those machines?
Having the poll books?
Yeah, or the upgraded computers that are networked and all that.
Well, yeah,
Like the whole thing. How much do you think it'll improve? Because I know we had long lines and people were leaving and stuff. So that's one of your goals, I'm guessing, is to improve the.
If I could add,
It took a minute and 45 seconds per person to check them in
Right.
the poll book or the laptop that we were using. We had 4 laptops. The maximum number that we could get in a 13-hour day was about 1,755, I think.
Yeah, you
We
guys-
had like 1,693 that we processed.
Yeah, you guys.
Plus
crushed it.
about another 100 provisional people that came through that we had to rule out for provisional, about another 80, I guess. So it doesn't take that long on the poll book. And we had to hand write the voter authority card. We had to print that for each voter. And that's what took a minute and 45 seconds. The machine will do this. The reason I wanted to go to town run, contractor supported, is that I found out I could get machines from probably any one of these 3 contractors, and there may be more out there too, that will, investigate in 2020, as we get closer to 2028. But it's because that could be done, and it'll be fast. The county uses, I think, 6 machines, and they never have lines, or you'll always have some lines, but it won't. We can probably just do 4. We could do 4 or 6, and we'll be fine. It takes less than a minute to do that.
So almost half the time.
Oh,
Yeah.
and I'm probably exaggerating in the minute.
Wow.
It
Okay.
probably doesn't take that
That's
long,
a significant improvement.
dramatic improvement, if I'm not mistaken.
because I don't remember if I mentioned the printer. Each poll book has its own printer, and so what's your name? What's your date of birth? What's your address? Here it is. I got that person. Print. Get them to look at it, verify their address, and sign it, and give them a ballot, and they move on. And they go vote.
I think the voters will be happy about that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the way we were in 2020.
Yeah.
And similar in 2016. The state, 60 days out for 2024, they were supposed to be given to us. 60 days out, they took them away. And we didn't have time to I didn't find other ways. I didn't know Electech was out there. I didn't know other things were out there at that
You
time.
guys did great.
So the committee did that.
Other questions or comments?
Well, yeah, and also just wanted to say of note that the $16,000 to have this election with this equipment and run this way, I think is well worth it. But it's also of note that they provide a technician on site, on election day
Yeah.
here. So that's an extra person to make sure everything's running, make sure the equipment's go running smoothly, an extra person, because we are struggling to field an entire board of elections and everything. So it's nice to have an extra person there, and especially one who is an
That is how
expert.
the equipment runs.
Yeah. So I just wanted to make sure that everyone knew that also.
Right. I'm glad you brought that up.
I would like, before I move forward, I would like to see if any of my committee members want to come up and add something.
Actually, I would appreciate it if they would.
There's your answer.
And by the way, one of your next items is agenda items is she's going to be appointed. So
Yeah.
Good evening. My name is Acacia Flores. I am on the election committee, and hopefully after your vote tonight, we'll be on the board of elections for the town of Chesapeake Beach. I have had the pleasure of serving with Randy for since probably January, correct? Is when we started this, so, or maybe a little bit before that. November.
Actually, it was in November. wasn't it?
November. Okay. So, so yeah, I've learned a lot in the past 5 months. I have also been learning a lot about different processes for voting in elections and things like that. And it's been kind of something that I've been interested in learning more about election integrity and what kinds of things we can do to make sure that we don't have outside interference in our processes and things of that sort. So I'm hoping that I can learn a lot more from Randy and be able to serve on the board to be able to help with our keeping our town voting integrity intact.
Appreciate that.
Okay. Any questions for me? Yes.
And I think that you'll be introduced at the council meeting, at the next council meeting,
I think
and then we vote the following council meeting.
Oh,
Is that
okay.
right? Am I wrong?
So you guys have the opportunity to ask
Ask
questions
questions
now,
at that time.
so that
Now-
she can be, if you all decide to appoint her, it would be at the upcoming council meeting on Thursday next week.
Let's ask now.
But she's here now if you want to ask. her
Yeah.
I'm here
questions.
now.
Good opportunity. And we had some good conversations, so.
I don't have, we talked a lot when I
Yeah,
was
David.
campaigning, so I'm more than
Yeah.
appreciative of
Buck's
what
mom
you're doing.
here, you
Yeah.
know?
No, I support you 100% more than appreciative of you stepping up to this. I appreciate it a lot.
I echoed that sentiment.
I do want to say that for the council's purposes and everything, understanding, we did talk about in the committee, we talked about, because there are going to be some changes that need to happen in the code. And I don't know if it's charter and code or just one or the other, but we decided as a committee that we thought the proper place for that discussion and fleshing out those types of issues was in the Board of Elections, not the committee. So this is going to be something that any new board
Well,
members
yeah.
will be tackling in the immediately.
Yeah.
So I appreciate your volunteer.
As do I.
All right. Thank you.
Anyone else?
All right.
We good? Anybody
So-
else got any questions? Are you
I
done?
just want to say I
You're
know
not-
Acacia and her husband, and they're good people, and now you gotta get Joe to come on a committee. I know. I'll talk to him. I'm glad you stepped up. I'm sure you'll be great on that.
Yeah, we
on that
all
board.
appreciate that.
Thank you.
It's critically important to our municipality to have a great board of elections and everything way above board, so thank you so much for stepping up, everybody. You too, my friend.
Oh, I'm hearing that we want to go town-run election, contractor support. Was there any? Okay. And I'm also hearing no multiple election.
I think
I
that
don't
is
think that's
correct.
necessary.
Okay. And that's something that could be changed by code at a later date, but it's not something that we will be looking at.
Right now, yeah.
And the fact that we're going town-run election, contractor support, there are not that many changes to the code that have to take place. There's only a few tweaks that have to be done. There would have been a lot more if we went with the going on the county ballot. We would have to pretty much rewrite our election code.
I do have one question. Was there a law last year that we had to accept mail-in ballots? For some reason, I remember something around.
There is nothing that I'm aware of that dictates the municipalities have to do that.
But we did do it, right? Did we do
We
it
have
or not?
absentee
I
ballots in
can't
our code.
remember.
We don't really call them mail-in. They changed the term from absentee to mail-in for the county and state.
Okay,
Ours is absentee ballots. However, there's not a big distinction. You don't have to have an excuse for doing an absentee ballot. You don't have to be going away or something. Ours basically allows any registered voter for Chesapeake Beach to decide to do an absentee ballot if they want, which is another reason why having a multiple election days is not really necessary. If they want to vote and they can't make election day, they can still vote by absentee ballot.
okay, that's what I thought. And the confusion that I had wasn't around any communication by you, but there were confusing conversations
There,
that happened.
there have been, I think there's been talk and legislation and stuff for the county, state, federal, but that doesn't apply to us.
Gotcha.
Our code applies to us.
Understood. Thank you.
All right. Well, then, if there's no more questions,
So I'm thinking I have my answer, which is town run election and no multiple days.
I believe that is what, I'm seeing a bunch of thumbs up.
Yeah.
Thumbs up, thumbs
I-
up.
Yes.
Appreciate your time.
Well,
And I will take one more. So it was very helpful to have Anthony and Eric on the committee, because it really, when we start looking at whether we want to go on the county ballot, the thing I was most worried about is what happens to the candidates that we're going to get, because it would most affect them. It would most affect somebody that wanted to run. And so it was very helpful to have their insight.
Thank you.
And I do appreciate every member of the committee. We did a lot of work together.
And I especially appreciate you. I know how much effort you've put into this, so thank you.
You're not moving, are you? You'll still be around, right?
The reason I had to put my name in the brief is because Eric kept pushing me to do that.
Well, yeah, because it is important to know that he plans to step down, and, you know, that is a factor in
Big
our
factor.
decision-making process.
It is. You'll still be available for advice, right? There you go.
Town council,
There you go. Sounds good. Town council?
mayor.
Town council? Mayor? Mayor? So much experience. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. All right. We're moving on to the next item on the agenda, which is state highway updates, and Dr. Okpadu is going to brief us on that.
Thank you. It's a pretty brief. In order for us to officially withdraw from the grant that we currently have, I have to submit a letter. So this is really letting you all know that is what the next step is for the grant that we currently have. The grant process is open now for transportation alternatives. It's open through the end of April. And so the town engineer and I have a meeting scheduled for later this week when he returns to work through the application and move forward and submit.
Do we need to know like which alternative we're thinking about to submit for the grant, or?
Yes. So my understanding from the last time that we had the larger conversation was that everyone seemed to be largely on board with alternative one. And so that is what we would be moving forward with. The transportation alternative grant is slightly different now than it used to be. So before, you would have to apply once for a 30% grant and then again for a 100% grant. They don't do that now. It's just one 100% grant, which will
Probably easier.
streamline the process. Yeah. And so they've shared, that's the federal grant. And they've also shared that there may be opportunities to apply for some state funding as well. So we are looking into that.
So we are going to get out of the grant pipeline and hope that we have a grant. Is that what we're talking about doing?
We are going to withdraw from the grant that we currently have, because that was my understanding of the council's will. And we will apply for another grant.
No guarantee on another.
There is never a guarantee when you're applying for grants. So that it's not like they're saying, yes, we're going to earmark these funds
Right.
for you. Right.
So
Because-
this basically could cost us the same $608,000 that is currently budgeted. But we could move forward with the grant that we have, stay in the grant pipeline, which might line us up for the construction grant as well. And the only risk to that situation is that we pay exactly what we're saying we're going to pay anyways. It's just, to me, it's really poor decision-making. It's going to set us back in time. I think that we do have a 30% design that is viable according to the state, viable according to right-of-ways and easements, and takes everybody on a safer route and eliminates a situation of unsafety that will not be eliminated by going through Woodshire Avenue. I would argue that going through Woodshire Avenue introduces a whole lot of foot traffic to a neighborhood that may not want it. It also takes people on a path that is not visible by road or by common traffic. I believe that there's a reason why SHA right-of-ways along a roadway exist and why they will build those connections along those areas. And I can see where the whole step situation by the marsh is maybe not ideal, but it also will be, we have a guaranteed route there, and there's no reason why we couldn't get the same open space grants that we are unsure whether we can get or not, and add them to the bird in hand that we have that we just dismissed. This project has been going on and on and on and on. And what I see is this council, even though we are funded and we have the ability to do this project, sending it back around in a circle. And I really, it's hugely frustrating to me. And it's hugely frustrating to everybody. I know you hate being called new, but you are new. Many people.
Well, I don't hate being called nude. I just,
Sure.
this has already been litigated like 80 times in this like the question is just an update. This isn't us redisputing this. You're literally bringing back the previous work session and the previous council session. So I would ask that we move to strike this conversation and move forward, because this is not we're not revoting. This has already been discussed. It's already been set in stone. You
No,
agreed
it
that we were
hasn't
going to look.
been discussed
You
because
said we were
didn't
going to look at
help me.
alternatives. You supported alternatives. Alternatives go. So like, this is ridiculous.
One person at a time, please. And I think that it's not valuable to spend time to re-litigate this. This is where we're headed. Is there anything else, Amelia, that you want to add to this?
Not for SHA at this time.
Okay.
You never got approved for the 100% design grant, right? Because it was two separate grants. We
We
got
had-
approved for 30%, but not 100%.
We had the approval, so we completed the 30%, which was
Right.
the feasibility, and we have the 100% design funds. That's what was.
Right, but they went over budget and all that. Okay, yeah.
No, they
Right.
didn't go over budget.
All right. Again, enough.
Again, we
So-
are
Okay.
giving away a grant,
We're gonna reapply for the new grant.
and we will wait for it.
That's the plan. Thank you very much. Let's move on. Next is the rail trail expansion and the concept plans. And do you have a,
It's not.
Oh, we don't-
For the slide, it's for the.
so you have this. And had recent discussions with Samelia and other staff regarding this. And so after, this is really a little hard to see, but after discussing this, as you all know, I advocated for the current rail trail for decades and finally got it done, what has been done to date, which is now over, I don't even remember how long ago it was. And and I know I'm repeating myself, but I'm old, so I'm allowed to do that. The piece that's shown in red down here, and I can barely read it, but it's the rest of the right of way that was the big cut in the hill coming down from Richfield Station. We had approval from all of the agencies except one to build that. I think that agency recognized that they made a mistake as soon as I took them out and showed them the trail. But those people, that goes back to, I think, 22 years or something like that. So those same people are no longer there. So my thought was, in discussing this with the engineer and with Samelia, it was to re-energize that bottom part of Richfield Station and build it around. Another concept that was presented there was this additional trail that goes back to the northwest and then loops around and goes back up into Richfield Station. So you could actually make a circle all the way around through Richfield Station. I'm not opposed to that, although I think that it's got a lot of challenges, but I'm not opposed to doing it. And as far as continuing it on the right of way, once you get to the town limits, that's not a town issue. But I will be happy to advocate to the county and try to gain support from our county commissioners to consider conducting or, building the trail further on out. And as you know, Route 260, where it goes from 2 lanes to 4 lanes, once you're on the 2-lane part, that is the railroad right of way. And there are still several existing buildings along Route 260 that were there in the heyday of the railroad, which went out of business in 1935. So anyway, that's where we stand with that. And Samelia, do you want to add anything to that?
The only thing else that I would add to it is that we're in the process. I'm expecting to receive the RFP by the end of this week for the rail trail expansion, so that we can move forward with bidding it.
Council?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
I love this project.
I'm glad to hear it.
So I just have one question. In the proposed phase 1 here in the diagram, it looks as though the proposed phase 1 does stop short of the town limits. Is there a reason it doesn't go all the way to the town limit?
Yeah, and the reason is because it's over water. We're not building a bridge there. And so there'd be no point in building a bridge to take you to the town limits, because all you would do would be to get across the bridge and you would be at the town limits.
Makes sense.
And so if we can ever encourage the county to build it all the way on further, that's when to build that bridge.
Okay, makes sense.
Other questions? Eric?
And so, and so we looked at this in the budget on capital budget, general fund, line item, rail trail extension, construction. We have in there budgeted, it looks like a budget of 2 million for the entire project over 3 years. Is that something we got from Wayne? Yes. And that's
To my knowledge.
like a throw up kind of number.
I think once he's done with the design portion, then we'll have a little bit more cost to build. There's some existing tie-ins there.
Anybody else?
Yes,
Go
I have
ahead,
a
Lauren.
question. So just for the record, I have no desire to pursue this project before pursue a connection from Chesapeake Village to town is underway. Secondly, there is a 200-acre parcel that is still in possession of Mr. Repke. That he owes to either Richfield Station or a public entity or a covenant. I'm not a huge fan of phase 2 of this proposal, but I additionally have concerns about legalities associated with building on Mr. Repke's property before he acquiesces the 200-acre parcel that he should not be allowed to keep. So I would just urge the town to cross their T's and dot their I's. This really isn't my project anymore. Of course, I do support a railway trail expansion, but there are several things that concern me. And again, I thank you for the railway trail that you did build, and you have a vision, but I have very deep concerns about the 200-acre parcel and the safety of my neighborhood that supersede my desire to.
Thank you for your comments. Anybody else?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I would like to see the connection from like right where the blue and the red line meet, like the end of the existing trail, to connect to Beach Elementary as part of one of the projects. I think that was already thought of before. I just want to voice my support for that connection.
Okay. Anybody else?
Not sure I understand. What, can you explain that?
Well, maybe not where the, like where the trail tees off and you can either go right or left.
Mm-hmm.
It's right where you go left, right where the sidewalk starts. There's a clear path to Beach Elementary. I think there's already some kind of concept plan for that connection. You just have to request property from the county, and they've already agreed to do that once we're ready for it. It's just a boardwalk connection to the school, so they can do their field trips. And
Are you speaking about down where the water well is, or are you thinking about up over the big hill once you go across the bridge?
no, right when you hit the T, you can go right to Richfield Station, or left takes you on the trail. You go left, and then right where the sidewalk starts, there's like a clear straight path to the school. We would just need to build a boardwalk.
Real fast, we did a feasibility study with the walkable communities, and then we actually took out there. So yeah, line of sight it is, but elevation wise, it's like 70 feet because you're at sea level, 6 foot above it at the trail, and you're like plus 75 at the school. So we walked that actually for feasibility, and they didn't know how to figure that out because that wasn't one of the initial phases. I'm not saying to exclude it, but the hurdle was the height difference because it's pretty level until you get to the school, and it's
steep.
And they abandoned the 2 trails that they did have because they failed on the hillside.
I was going to say, I thought there were some switchbacks in there or something.
They were, but they've been abandoned for a few years. They used to come down to the old well site and come through, but they failed. The slope failed. So not saying not pursue it, but that was the hurdle when we did the initial feasibility study with a third party, and they just thought it was not possible at that time.
And I think it's safe to say I would be willing to bet you that there's not a single person on this council that wants to not have as much walkability as possible within our town. I mean, everybody wants to do that. It's not a matter of what we want to do. It's a matter of what we can do and how we get it done and what's feasible and what's not feasible. And so this piece that's being proposed here is an easy win because it was already approved by 21 agencies of the state. And I think Wendy's been pulling all the documentation from the original, all of the stuff that we put together for the state and the Joint Evaluation Committee that I testified in front of and all that. So we're gathering all the information, we'll represent it, and I believe that that's doable. Not that we don't want to do anything else, it's just that this one is probably doable and gets us to the town limits. And that, hopefully that sets a pattern for a whole lot more walkability in the town. Does anybody else have anything they want to say about this or questions about this?
I'm just going to push a little bit. Are you
I'm
arguing that
surprised.
this is more feasible than a state verified grant to connect a neighborhood to town where it's unsafe?
I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that this is something that was approved over 20 years ago, and I want to see it move forward. It has nothing to do with the other project that we're talking about. And it's not an either or situation as far as I'm concerned. We pursue both of them at the same time. This one, I think we can get done.
As
All right.
opposed to the other one?
I'm sorry.
As opposed to the other one?
I
we
didn't
could get
say, did you
done?
hear me say that? Those words never left my lips. I said, this one can be done. It was already approved. That's all I said. I didn't say anything else. Thank you. Can we move on to the home occupations discussion? Sarah?
Hi.
Good evening.
Sir.
So you all have in front of you, and you've introduced for approval the updates to the home occupations that you requested. Just a reminder, these are a quick fix, a 90-day fix. They are not how the Planning Commission is looking at for a long-term solution in the 6-month process of the land use classifications being updated. And so if you have any other questions or concerns, I'm here to answer them.
Only one thing for me, 1A, where it says and has minimal negative impact
Mhm.
on the neighborhood where the business is located.
Mhm.
I think that is very subjective. When you say the words minimal and negative, those are not definitive things that you can define or explain. And it opens it up to a gray area to be a person's opinion on what is minimal and negative. When you go to J, you have it here where it says establishment of or operation of a home occupation is harmonious with the character of neighboring residential uses and does not create traffic, et cetera, et cetera. I think that kind of covers that. So for me, to make sure that we have codes that you can actually enforce and is not opinionated, I would ask to remove that verbiage. But that would be my only, from going through this, that's the only thing that I had concern about. I would like for our codes to be as succinct as possible so that there's not a lot of questions or opinions or pushback from people saying, well, I didn't have minimal, it wasn't negative, it was positive impact. So that would be my only thing that I would want to bring up.
Okay.
Good call.
Council, anything else?
Agree with that.
Just want to make it as easy as possible. If it's wrong, it's wrong. If it's right, it's right. No opinions, no favoritism, just make it simple.
And I'm looking at Dr.
Yes. Is she?
For,
Come up here so you get recorded, please.
Nothing in this code is going to supersede a homeowner association governing documents that will limit what kind of businesses or what kind of occupancy can be in their home, correct?
that's correct.
Okay. That's my question. Thank you.
I'm glad you asked that question.
I just wanted to ask a procedural question. Is this something that would need to be brought up for a vote at the next meeting? Is this something that can be voted on now?
It can be voted
So
on in
so
work
this is just
session.
comments. Okay.
Yeah, it has to be brought up in the next meeting.
I
Work
think
with Karen.
we're all in alignment with.
So, yeah, I think that what's presented at the meeting doesn't have to be this document. It can be something different. And if we all agree that we would like to see a certain change, that change can be made before a regular session.
Oh, that was my question.
Yeah.
So
So I have a couple questions about this. So this contains two sections, and one of the sections contains home occupations that are not permitted. And I did a little research, and I did not find home occupations that were not permitted in Common Code. So I'm curious about the section of this code that does not require a permit.
Can you be specific about where a permit is not required? Where it says there's no
So
permit required?
in the first customary home occupation, it has a long list of things, and K is a zoning permit is obtained. Then it has conditional use in the RB1, RLD, RMD, RHD, and RPC. And I don't see that same language in that. If I were reading the zoning code, I would assume that I do not need a permit. So if you are planning on requiring a permit for section 2, I would say that we would want to include that same language, that it requires a permit, and requiring a permit for a home occupation is the common practice from what I can tell. So that there's that in general. Additionally,
Can I add on to that real quick? Because that is a good call. Is there a difference? Because it says zoning permit versus home occupation. Is there a difference between the two? Or are they representing the same phrasing?
We kind of weren't sure why that was in there because everything needs a permit. We
Right.
did leave it in there. I will tell you that the Planning Commission is discussing not requiring a permit for a minor home occupation, which is what is comparable to 2. And while it isn't sort of established practice to do that, it is the more sort of modern new approach to allow these home occupations you can't even tell are happening to happen without a permit. And so that's why that is. So I think that it's worth a discussion here. It might make sense, since this is the shorter term fix, to just add an I that says a zoning permit is obtained to 2 and put a pin in that discussion for when you get the bigger.
I would I think that's what Lori's getting. I would concur
discussion.
with that too, just for continuity as well, and then addressing when they do the full table review. Thank you.
Yeah,
I have 3 more things.
can I just say one more thing to this
Absolutely.
one, right? So the zoning permit and the home occupation permit are two completely different things. So I think making sure that that's defined and understood before moving forward with that verbiage is really, really important, because you don't want to get caught out there when a person having the zoning permit when they're supposed to have a home occupation permit. So they are two different things.
What's the difference then? I mean, I get it, but like, what would be the difference in the language? Why we would put the word zoning versus home occupation in a home occupation ordinance?
So again, we did this in one sitting, and the Planning Commission, if that's helpful for perspective. And so it typically, a home occupation is going to want a use permit, which is still a zoning type of zoning permit, but it's not the same as the larger permit. So I think it might want to just say a permit is obtained, so that the administration of what the permits look like has some flexibility to make things more simple as needed.
What's the difference between 2E and 2G?
So 2E is that you can't sell anything, right? And 2F is that you can't display anything.
G.
Or sorry, G. Okay. Oh. I guess there's really not a difference.
Well, if you have a hair care place, you can't sell radios out of it. So it's like no commodity. No, if you're doing hair in your home, you can't also sell remote controls. You know what I mean? So when they're saying no article or commodity is offered on sale on the premises, if you have a business, a home business that's specifically for a specific thing, you can't also sell other things out of your home.
Wouldn't that be covered under G though?
Well, not necessarily, because you still have to say you can't sell other things except the service that you're supposed to give. And then when you get to G, that's like you can't have a shop set up where you just in there just selling goods instead of having an actual service. So it's kind of the same, but then again, specificity, somebody could take one thing and put it under something different. So
Yeah.
it covers all bases.
So this says no article or commodity,
Right.
which does bring me to my second question. Do we have a cottage industry law that would allow somebody to sell their baked bread, those are the kinds of
Or
things.
needlework in my wife's case.
Different things. So trying to conflate the two, a home occupation that should require a permit and business license and all this other stuff, and a cottage industry is a little bit confusing. So I would be interested to see the modern code that you're talking about, because I couldn't find any.
So you're talking about what my reasoning for advising the planning commission on the
Right.
permitting is it's not based on a specific current code. It's based on discussions in the planning practice about making home occupations more accessible and best practices for that. So
I would just be interested to read about it, to educate myself, if you have something on that from somewhere. Because to me, we should be permitting these home occupations, which brings me to my third point. Permits do a couple things. They make sure that you know what's going into the neighborhoods where home occupations are allowed. They make sure that those uses are compatible. When you have those things not permitted, you don't know. I know you had somebody visit the planning commission that wants to do gun repair. And then we have this definition for an adult bookstore in our code that we need to approve as well. I think that having controlled items and substances be serviced in commercial zones rather than residential zones is something that I'm for. And I did bring that up when you first brought this to us. I don't know. I'll just say I don't know that I can approve this based on no permitting or no regulations related to controlled items and substances. So, but I would like to know why, because people are going to ask me. And if you get somebody that is unhappy with the home occupation that they're forced to live by, I want to be able to answer that question.
So
Can I just add real quickly though? So like the adult bookstore, it's already existing in the current code as written. The real push here was, I guess, a handful of years ago, it removed the RV1, RMD, all the people who could have true traditional, to include cottage, right? Cottage still requires permits with home occupation. Usually the county actually doesn't require it, but the town does. So there was this change where it removed it, and the quick fix was, well, why not just unremove that removal? And nobody can, Sarah, correct me if I'm wrong, nobody can explain why the code was adjusted to remove the areas where true home occupation would be. So we had all this code, and then where you see in section 2 where it says conditional use in RV1, that was eliminated and went, it was converted to NP versus conditional. And the conditional drives that you have to have a permit to do that. So for example, because I know you had brought up like marijuana, like sales or something like that, somebody would still have to come here and request a permit. And if it doesn't live in the zoning rules that we have, they wouldn't get permitted for it. Now, if they go and sell on their own, then they have a business that doesn't comply with the town code. But that's a whole different discussion on enforcement. But this here is really just actually enabling the community to have those home businesses and those cottage laws. And then there was even, Dan had even brought up a discussion, there's a gentleman, John, right next to you, sells his shoes, his Nike shoes and Pokemon cards and basketball cards all the time. What about that? It's like a pop-up that he does as he see fits. He puts a table out, puts some cards out there. People will stop by. That actually conflicts with the home occupation, but there's not a home occupation. That's kind of like a temporary when your son does pawpaws. Yeah. So I think there's other aspects of this that would be addressed through that we were working with Sarah on addressing through the land use table and some other codes in there. But this specific ordinance is just to add back in the zoning areas that were removed. I don't know. They just magically disappeared a couple years ago. I don't know how.
So how would,
And I don't know how either, but this isn't addressing any of those things that you just said.
No, it does. It
Um,
adds it in section 2. It puts it back in.
Right, but I remember it was removed in item 10 that had, and I don't have item 10 in front of me.
Home occupation.
And the situation has come up. I mean, Chesapeake Village can't even ride a bike to town now because of.
What's item 10 that you're trying to?
Well, what I'm saying is we are addressing this code now, right? We were very picky about some other code that really had no impact, but this code does have an impact. It is going to put certain occupations in residential areas where residential use and the people who move there for residential use rely on that zoning. And so, for me,
Like what though? Like, give me
I would
specifics.
say that a person who repairs firearms, right? There are a lot of reasons to repair firearms. Firearms of themselves are not a bad thing. I would prefer that particular type of business, though, is in a commercial zone. I might be a person that lives next to that business that doesn't feel comfortable around guns. Additionally, you might be, there's all kinds of people who are associated with guns. That person that is repairing the guns might not have control over who is coming to his business in the residential area to get their firearm repaired. I think that removing the ability to have controlled items and substances sold in residential neighborhoods or be associated with a business in a residential neighborhood would eliminate most of my concerns with this, in addition to requiring a permit for a home occupation.
Well, this policy does require a permit. We'll put the language in there.
Right, but
you
there
can't
you're not having a legal
but you-
basis for denying certain things.
Well, if it's not allowed in the code, if it's not allowed in the town code, then you wouldn't be allowed to have or do we need to adjust? But you can't pharmaceuticals in your, like I can't just start making aspirin in my house and sell it like that. Like it's got to follow state code for like pharmaceuticals and like Maryland's like for marijuana dispensaries is a very, very strict code. So it's not like you could just stand up a dispensary in your home or anything. The gun one is an interesting one. I don't know the answer to that, but like the medical stuff, marijuana.
Right, but we need to know the answer to that.
Well, that one.
The problem is that if there's a list somewhere that's already been made with things that are not allowed, then find a list. If the list is not there, then make the list instead of going back and forth over conjecture with our opinions.
I don't know what the list would-
Exactly. So that's the
what
thing.
would be
So if we
excluded or
don't
not
already have a list, then let's
Yeah.
stop talking about it and make a list.
But doesn't
You know,
the land use table?
Because we're wasting the time right now.
So-
We have something in front of us that opens us up to get something done that was taken away without any purpose. Now we want to move on to say, okay, well, we got this straight.
Yes.
Let's make a list of the things that we don't want in the neighborhoods because we deem them unsafe. Then make that list and let's vote on that. Because right now, this is just the conversation.
It does say needs to be harmonious with the character, but that's open to interpretation.
I might go to the guy that fix guns.
So I think
So what's the character?
I think we just need to be
It's subjective. And if we
specific with that.
if we're dealing with subjectivity and opinion, then what are we going to actually get to? Because we all can feel a certain way about something.
So they tried to accomplish it with 2H, but it just needs to be more specific.
Well, I would say that there is a list of controlled items, and if we said controlled items, that would account for most people's concerns.
We just need the list then. If there's a list already in place from the smarter people that was here before us, then let's go to that list. If that list does not exist, then let's go ahead and move forward, and then we can get that list in front of us and we can vote on that when we're ready.
There's code on eCode Library that looks great to me. And it's,
But is the code on Chesapeake?
Do you have an alternate proposal then,
Where
Laura?
is our code?
I just wonder why we are being so creative. You don't need to be. And I'm always going to defer to protecting residential use in a residential area.
Are you about to say something, Eric?
I got some. So my question is same back to number 2, right? And going back to Councilman Evans' comments about E and G and how they seem to be the same. They do seem to be the same to me. But my question really is, so are we saying that only services and not the sale of any physical item is allowable?
So you can't conduct sales on premises. And this may be, those two may just be, sometimes when we do stuff at the Planning Commission, we'll add stuff in and then the next time we'll realize they match up. But we did this pretty quickly. So we could probably remove one of those, but you can still sell items, just not
on the premises.
on premises. So only via the mail.
Okay, so just a really simple question. Does this require a permit to have a lemonade stand?
Not-
A lemonade
Technically.
stand is not a home occupation. It's a temporary use. It's not permitted or not permitted in your code. A lemonade stand is technically the sale of food and beverages, which the county regulates. So it's a little more of a complicated question. And I don't think that a zoning permit would be required. There's no zoning authority over lemonade stand.
Don't call the county on my
No,
kids.
this exact question was emailed to Sarah and the attorney. And that is where we would add in something in, because what we do not want to do, I don't think anybody in here wants to be on the news as the town who shuts down a 9-year-old kid's lemonade stand like it happened a handful of years ago. And so there was discussions about adding some language into the zoning ordinance that addresses that. And that's why I brought up the example of the gentleman next to John who sells Pokemon cards.
Right, and so, we can't just say, except for a lemonade stand. It has to be a broader clause so that, because there are other absurdities that you can come up with, I'm sure.
Well, and the Planning Commission is working on that language. We worked on it a bit. I'm working on it to present to them again for April's meeting. So they do want to make sure kids can sell lemonade or Pokemon cards or whatever it is.
And I just want to comment that I concur with Councilman Green's opposition to a broad controlled substance clause. I'd like to see a specific list because, and it's the same thing. I can go to the situation that we talked about the last time at the meeting or whatever it was. I brought up the idea of someone who does some small batch microbrewery and sells it to, a local establishment. And they can sell it there to the individuals. Something like that, I don't think should be ban with some type of broad controlled substance clause.
You have a microbrewery staying in front of the house right next to the lemonade. So let's progress. Chesapeake Beach.
Lemonade.
I'm not the
IPA.
county. Um,
All right, all right. I think that we,
Have a lemonade
I think we
IPA.
talked this out pretty thoroughly. I mean, does anybody else have any final comments before we adjourn? Thank you. I don't hear any. All right, this is your last chance. Laura, your last chance. Okay. Everybody good? All right. Is there let's see, we're not going to do item 6 because Dan's not here.
It's not here.
So the next item on the agenda is a motion for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
What took you so long? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. Very good meeting. I appreciate everybody's input. We covered a lot of territory and we got a lot done. Thank you.